Ladies and gentlemen, if we could ask everyone to please be seated. Members of the City Council, please attend the call meeting of the City Council to be held at IC Norcom High School, 1801 London Boulevard, 7 p.m., Monday, September 14, 2015, for the purpose of a community meeting. In addition, you may consider a motion to go into closed meeting by order of the mayor. Mr. Cherry?
Here.
Dr. Edmonds?
Here.
Mr. Meeks? Mr. Moody?
Here.
Ms. Simmons?
Here.
Dr. Whitaker? Mayor White?
Here.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I Just before we turn the mic over to the mayor, we'd just like to remind you of some of the very basic ground rules, which is not many, only a couple. First of all, this meeting lasts from 7 to 9 p.m. We do not have a time limit on the speakers, but especially due to the number that are here this evening, we'd like to ask everyone to please be conscious of your time in speaking to allow as many of those that would like to speak an opportunity to come forward. We ask that you speak once, see if there's anyone else that wants to speak, and seeing that there's none, then if time allows, you may speak for a second time if necessary. But we ask that you please keep your comments concise and be sensitive of the time and for others. Mayor Ryan.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everybody. It is indeed a pleasure to see the number of folks that we have here, and hope we'll have a very constructive and productive night. We did do since our last community meeting, we talked about things that we could possibly do to engage the citizens. One of them was social media, and I think we put out a survey, and we had one or two questions on social media that I think we're going to read as well. So just so you'll know, we're trying to do what we can to make sure we engage with all the citizens and make sure we get that balance and strike that right nerve within our community to make sure that these things are productive. So with that, Madam Clerk, we're ready. If anyone would like to, let's do one of the social media ones, and then anyone else have questions, you can go ahead and get to the mic. We'll do one here now.
Okay, this is pretty lengthy, so bear with me. This citizen says, suggestion for litter being tossed in our streets. If it is possible, impose a tax from the city on carry-out food and beverages. Fast food beverages. As I walk almost daily in the community, I pick up aluminum cans for recycling, and on the streets that come into my neighborhood, I pick up the trash and bring it home and put it in the trash can. I have often thought that if there was a special tax placed on items purchased at fast food restaurants and convenience stores that could be used to pay someone to pick up the litter when citizens toss the wrappers, cans, etc. in the streets, it might not prevent the littering, but the people who are littering would be the ones paying to have it picked up. I recycle approximately 30 pounds of aluminum cans every 6 weeks, just picking them up in the Port Norfolk Mountain Herman neighborhoods. We have a code for overgrown weeds and grass already. Can we also require property owners to keep the curb and gutter in front of their property free of debris, litter, and grass? We have people who may mow their grass but allow weeds to grow up in the cracks of the curb, and who allow litter to stay in the street and curb area. Even though I don't litter, I feel it my responsibility to keep my curb and gutter clean. I don't wait for the street sweeper. This may already be in the code. I just don't see it being enforced. I recently tried to get 10 tires picked up that had been dumped in the water's edge at 3100 block of Detroit Street. After several weeks of trying to get someone to respond to me by calling and then writing to the Department of Neighborhood Advancement, Mr. Fred Russo, on July 8th with no response. I was able to get in touch with Mr. Taylor in Waste Management, who met me at the site. The tires were slightly down the embankment, and I was told that it may be a danger to staff to try to remove the tires. His suggestions were to wait until the Clean the Bay Day a year from now. See if I could get someone from my church to get them out. I don't attend church. And lastly, call the sheriff's office and see if they would pick them up. Sheriff is not in Waste Management. He assured me that if I could get them up to the side of the street, they would be picked up by bulk, but I had to get them to the side of the street. I'm a senior citizen. I am a senior citizen out here. A senior citizen got in there, pulled the tires up to the street, and then they were picked up by bulk trash collection. Surely there is a better way. There is a church in the neighborhood currently named Cross Life located at 603rd Street that cut down every tree on the property, then proceeded to put in the parking lot and I believe some concrete walkways. This church is in the floodplain and the water from the adjacent creek has flooded this church and the area in the parking lot many times. How is it that this church is allowed to do this? I would appreciate it if the city would look into this. Thank you to everyone who works at the city of Portsmouth. I appreciate your service.
That's a long question. See what happens when you engage social media. It would give me an opportunity, though, to plug our Adopt a Spot program and remind everyone that we relaunched that program this year, and we've got quite a few citizens that have participated. And we would like for any of you that want to adopt a spot within our city to please call Waste Management. And I think it's Donna Corbus that was coordinating that to sign up either your church, your civic league or organization for a spot within our city, because cleanliness is very important and we'd like to see the engagement in all of our citizens and organizations. Anything else in there that any council members heard that you might want to respond to? Okay, anyone else? Questions, please? Yes, ma'am. You can come right up to the mic.
Good evening. After last week's council meeting, I came away quite stunned. It appears that decisions that affect the citizens the most are discussed in closed session and are not placed on the agenda in enough time for citizens to digest the topic, think about the topic, and rationally speak to council about the topics which I suspect you all know are going to be heated and debated items. Instead, these items are placed on the agenda only minutes before they are to be voted on by council. Some recent examples include the decision by this council to seek an order to remove a Confederate monument despite a majority of speakers asking that it not be removed for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is financial. Changing speaking times from 5 minutes to 3 minutes, and the decision last Tuesday to censure and fine council members who discuss closed session items with the press or the public. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but the last time I checked, the people voted every one of you into office, and we can vote you out of office if we are not pleased with your performance. As far as and I'm sure others in this audience are concerned you answer to us, the people who pay your salaries. We are your bosses. I fully respect the right of council to have closed session meetings for the purpose of discussing personnel matters, ongoing litigation matters wherein discussion of the same in the public might cause detriment to the case. But aside from those, you owe we the people of this city an explanation as to what you are doing and why you are doing it, and you owe us the right to have time to digest and rationally weigh in on decisions that affect us the most. It seems to me this council has more and longer closed session meetings recently. I understand that all decisions this council makes will not always go the way I or others think it should go. That's life. But recently, the council has not listened to what the majority of the citizens want, and your constituents feel we are being ignored about what our concerns are. You seem to be more concerned with your own personal agendas. You do not have the right to promote your own personal agendas, which is what I feel is being done. Your jobs are to represent all of the citizens of this city. I would ask the audience to stand if you agree with what I am saying. Now I have two questions. The first one, is last Tuesday's decision even legal? And if it is, I'd like a legal opinion from our city attorney wherein she can cite the code section or city ordinance or whatever law is in place that gives council the right to make that decision. The second question, could each of you give the citizens an explanation as to why we are not more informed, why some on council feel they have to go to the paper or the media to keep the citizens informed, and why you put what are sure to be heated topics on the agenda at the last minute, and what each of you plan on doing about this problem in the future. We the people want transparency in our government, and we are not currently getting that. Thank you.
Ma'am, could you come back up and give us your name and your address, please?
My name is Julie Boone, and I live at 3504 Pine Road in Portsmouth.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Corbell?
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Pam Clopel, and I live at 501 Elizabeth Place. And I'd like to talk about the Pines property at 1801 Portsmouth Boulevard, the sports complex. The city bought 33 acres of property for $3.75 million in 2013-14. It transferred the money from the general fund to the CPI, the Capital Improvement Fund. As I understand the general fund, that can be used for maintenance, repair, beautification, or less of a tax increase on real estate. The vote was 7-0. It took $76,000 off our tax rolls each year. Now with increased tax, which started July 1, it is $78,000 a year in real estate tax. According to a March 23rd work session, using additional local funds for park improvements, including $500,000 for roof repair of the cafeteria and making restrooms ADA compliant. Asbestos removal is going on, but we have no cost figure for that at this point. John Rowe, in the same work session of March 23rd, said bonds would have to be issued for CPI work, such as baseball fields. And he said a baseball field will cost $500,000 to meet regulations. Issuing of bonds, as all of you know, is going more in debt and is increasing the debt load of the city and of the residents. Additionally, in the community development block grant money, 60% of that money this year went into repairs and renovations for the sports complex. That amounted to $851,210 of the community block grant. Since its inception, the goal of the CDBG program remains the same: to encourage more broadly conceived community development projects and expand housing opportunities for people living in low and moderate income housing. The grant application funds could have been used to improve sidewalks, including curb ramps, could have been used to improve streets, enhance beautification, improve sanitary and stormwater sewage, as well as floodplain management. The executive summary of the community block grant application says the city is using funds at the Pines to rehab structures and make site improvements to create a public park benefiting low-income persons. This project will be funded on a multi-year basis over the next 3 years, meaning $851,000 will be taken from community block grants the current year, the year 16-17, and the year 17-18. Are these expenditures consistent with the recommendations of the 2012 Park and Recreation Master Plan, for which the city paid $65,000 for in 2012? That plan says there are deficiencies in parks and recs in the following area, and these are quotes from that plan. Significant portions of the city are underserved by neighborhood and community parks. Churchland is particularly underserved. The second quote from this plan: although constructing a new centrally located state-of-the-art recreation center may be an ideal goal, and it is an ideal goal, maintenance of existing facilities should be the first priority. A second priority should be to fill in the gaps of coverage, including Churchland. Let me recap. We bought the property and moved money from the general fund to the community, in the CIP, the Capital Improvement Fund, $3.75 million. We already know from a work session with John Rowe in March that $500,000 has been allocated and spent for roof repair and ADA compliant bathrooms. We know that $78,000 has now been taken off the tax rolls each and every year, and if we multiply that times 3, that's $244,000. We're multiplying it by 3 because the Community Development Block Grant is going on for 3 years, taking $851,210 from the Community Block Grant. You add all those figures up, that comes to $7,047,630 in 3 years to cover the park. It does not count the lost real estate tax forever, nor does it cover the bonds. Nor does it cover the bonds which are going to be issued for additional capital improvements. This $747,630 could be better used addressing the potential $20 million shortfall that we are facing in the next fiscal year. Quoting from the Virginian Pilot Sunday, the council balanced the city's budget this year by slashing city departments, freezing vacant police and fire jobs, hiking the region's highest real estate tax by 3 cents, and deploying a series of other one-time gimmicks to get to the next summer. But the structural problems in our city, in the budget remains. They are being compounded by a series of bad decisions. One of the bad decisions identified by the editorial was the Pines. In the past year, the city has purchased a property for which recreation center it can't afford. The equivalent of a financial double whammy that saddles the city with another expense while reducing its already meager supply of taxable land. We can't change what has already been spent. We can change the next 2 years of the Community Development Block Grant so that $871,000 does not go to that. We can do away with our plans to issue bonds to pay for $500,000 ball fields. And if the bill passes for a casino, it'd be a fabulous place to have a casino. At any rate, the money that is going on this property is hurting all of it. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to address part of the information that the First Lady was sharing with us. I was trying to write your name, but I missed it. Pardon? Julie. Just want to correct some things. We didn't have a closed meeting to cut the time. We didn't have a closed meeting to do a lot of things that has been embellished by the newspaper and other persons that think they know what we were talking about. When we go into closed meetings, it isn't about having a secret meeting, but it's to get clarification, get our minds together so that we all be heading in the same direction. It's an integritous thing when we come together in a closed meeting, not to expect to be taped or have somebody to go out and say everything that we said in a closed meeting. And that, if that's the case, there's no need to have a closed meeting. Nothing is secret. Too fast. Let me reiterate. The closed meeting is important so that we can get our thoughts together, so that we can make the best decision. Please, will you allow me to finish? Thank you very much. And most of the time, when the newspaper gives their reports, we all are right there together when they do it, and I think all of us can see where some things have been grossly embellished. Our job is to make the best decisions that you have elected us to do. And in order to do that, sometimes we have to do like the football teams do, come together, gather in a huddle, and come out and make the right decisions. And then we'll have it voted on. Speaking on behalf of my council persons, the fine that was imposed and the other direction, disciplinary things that would happen, is not going back to grab old things. It's applicable to each one of us so that we all will be keenly aware that when we're speaking, we have to be integrative about what we're saying, honest, and make sure that we're all on the same page. We strive very hard to make that happen. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Betty Ashbury. I live in the Charlton section of Portsmouth. I made a little outline before I decided to come and speak tonight, which I was going to try to follow. But when I get upset, I don't always remember what I want to say. Sometimes I say things that I shouldn't say. So I made a decision this morning to put sheets of paper out. And every time a thought went through my head, go and put it down. So everything is not going to be in order. I suppose some of you wonder why this old lady, as mayor, you dubbed me, that will be 83 years old in 2 weeks, continues to butt her head against a brick wall at city meetings. But I refuse to be a member of the silent majority. I am angry that my city has become the laughing stock of the Tidewater area. When I'm angry, I don't shut up. I fight back, as my children, who happens to be one sitting in the audience tonight, will attest to, because they had to live with it all of their life. I attended a surprise birthday party for my daughter that was held in Suffolk this past weekend. And most attending were from the Western Branch area, just across the Portsmouth line. Before I could even greet them, when they were coming in the door, they questioned what in the world is happening in Portsmouth. Most of them were Portsmouth natives. A lot of them graduated from Charleston High School with my daughter. In response, my answer was, the four amigos have ridden again. And before you accuse me of this being a racial thing, let me dispute that remark right now. I campaigned for Councilman Cherry in the last election. I had signs on my yard. I had others encouraged in my yard to put signs on their front yard. I went to everyone, I said, we need to vote for Paige Cherry because he's there for all the citizens. He will sponsor and support us all in his decisions. I went to fundraisers for him. But the people that I encouraged to vote for him are not having an awful lot to say to me now because they have not seen that occur. Last year, I requested a meeting with the mayor, which I felt would probably last about 15 to 20 minutes. We had a really good conversation for about an hour. Not only about city problems, but just plain conversation in general. I even found out that he attended the same grammar school that I did, of course at different times. I came into that meeting feeling pretty good that perhaps everything was going to come together. Unfortunately, that's not happened. Mayor, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, it ain't gonna happen. What really angers me most is the arrogance of the four of you that feel you can disregard or change some of the laws of the state of Virginia or not obey the First Amendment of the Constitution. I guess, maybe, Councilman Cherry might have been disappointed not being reappointed as vice mayor for a second term after he was reelected. But for him to vote to censor or unseat Vice Mayor Summers for informing citizens of this city for what is our right to know is both devious and despicable. If anyone should have been concerned about censoring, Councilman Whitaker should have been censored when he called a gentleman from social services stupid or ignorant for trying to make a valid point. To my knowledge, that gentleman has not returned to a council meeting since then. You know, once before, I quoted from Thomas Jefferson's Gettysburg Address, government of the people, by the people, and for the people. But in the city of Portsmouth, it's the government of for people, by for people, and not for all people. I once before asked all of the good people of Portsmouth, young, old, black, white, Hispanic, come together. Let's tell this council, enough is enough. Stop having your agenda and work for all the good of the people of this city who love the city as much as I do. Another thing that I would like to stress, right now, our police departments have come under a lot of fire. There's been a lot of horrible things going on in the police departments all over the country. I would like to see all of us in some way support not only our police, but our fire and our sheriff's departments, and show them the respect that they deserve because they have jobs that few of us could do or would do. Mayor, you've been critical of the newspapers for all of the negative press, but if you all would stop supplying them, they wouldn't be able to print it. This council has provided so much interest in stupidity since January the 1st of this year. Everyone rushes to the morning paper to see if we're back in the headlines one more time. Dr. Patton, I wish you the greatest luck, because luck and prayer is what it's going to take to reunite this city and bring it back where a person will want to live and raise their family as it used to be years ago. I know that you work at the pleasure of City Council, and I hope and I pray that they will give you the freedom to accomplish this, as I know that you have the ability and the desire to do. Bishop, you stated you prayed for this city every day, and I hope you continue to do so, because we need all the prayers we can get. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ashbury. I don't speak a lot, but when I do say something, it's something to say. First of all, prayer does work. Does anyone disagree that it doesn't? Okay, I'll pray harder for you. But one of the things that's really daunting is have a label to put upon us as a council members, such as being tagged before amigos. There was one newspaper article that even tagged us as the four horsemen of the apocalypse. I took issue with that because my focus as a pastor is to teach the Bible. And when you start dabbing in those things, you're talking about wicked and evilness. The vote, we're in a democracy, and it takes 4 votes to carry something. I've been in Portsmouth all my life, and this council hadn't always looked like it looked. And there was a different trend of majority on here. And when those motions passed, it seemed that there was no person complaining. I can assure you that each one of us work the best that we can. You've seen some of the good, you've seen some of the bad, and maybe some of the ugly. But we still try to have a way of making sure that we do things the right way. And so, Ms. Ashbury, yes, I'm still praying. And yes, sir, I'll pray extra hard for you tonight.
Yeah, I just wanted to address Ms. Ashbury as well, so she called my name I want to address Ms. Ashbury as well, so she called my name a number of times. First of all, I take umbrage with the fact that you call me despicable and disrespectful. But that in itself was despicable and disrespectful for you to do that in this audience and say that about me today. So I don't appreciate it. I've always voted my conscience. I will continue to do that. We made a decision. When you talk about us being the laughing stock, you know what part of it is? Because people come up there to their mic, and people turn on the TV to watch what you say every week, and there are a couple people up here feeding the frenzy to the newspaper. So don't blame the 4 of us, okay? Take a look in the mirror and look at who's feeding the frenzy. All right, so I will continue to vote what's our conscience and what I believe is in the best interest of the city today, tomorrow, yesterday, and forever. As long as I'm here.
Yes, ma'am, Candy.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Revel, and I live at 422 Crawford Street. Other speakers have hit on topics that I have written down on my sheet of paper. I will assure you that any adjective I use tonight will be my own feelings. But I did want to say that I've been attending the council meetings as regularly as I can since I became aware last spring of how dysfunctional things appeared to be going. And at that time, my initial feeling was one of disappointment. Disappointment because the city where I was born and have lived my entire life, again, seems to be in the paper and the butt of jokes on a daily or at least a weekly basis. But since then, the words that I would use to describe it have gone from disappointment to dismay, and they peaked last Tuesday night at disgust. And those are my feelings. I'm not blaming, I'm not putting those adjectives on any of you. I am just talking about how I feel about what is happening. And my big issue is secrecy. And Bishop, I appreciate, and with all due respect, what you say about going into closed meetings to get your head together so that you can make right decisions for our city, and I certainly understand that. But according to the Freedom of Information Act, there are very specific parameters under which council should be going into closed session, and some of the things that have come out afterwards, like changing city council agendas at the last minute, don't seem to fall under those parameters, but then I'm not a lawyer. But I'm concerned about the secrecy, I'm concerned about the divisiveness, I'm concerned about the loss of trust that so many people in this room have for our elected officials. And my question to you is, what is the plan of this council and this new city manager to restore the trust of the people of the city of Portsmouth and to all work together for the betterment of the place that I live, work, and play?
Yes, sir.
To the honorable member of council who spoke about the Freedom of Information Act, sir, as a member of the working press in the 1970s, I helped rewrite Virginia's Freedom of Information Act. I can assure you that if you will take the time to read it, you will find no exemption for, quote, us to get our heads together. Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, Madam City Manager, my name is Jay Moore. My wife and I own a home in Sterling Point. Mr. Mayor, please let me congratulate you and the members of the council for holding this public comment session tonight. It's precisely the kind of activity that builds and sustains that sacred bond of trust between the government and its residents. Sadly, tonight's openness is contrary to the day-to-day operation of your government. City Hall routinely closes its doors, refuses to open its records. It stiff-arms residents and reporters alike. Mr. Mayor, the bonds of trust necessary for you to effectively govern our city are broken. Not irreparably broken, but sadly and deeply broken. I'm a retired public relations professional, and I've worked at a very high level of governments and the private sector. And I can tell you that the way you're going about dealing with your customers, those of us who call Portsmouth home, is not going to bring about an effective result. The original power, ours is a government, as has been said, of the people, by the people, and for the people. The original power resides with us as residents. We pass our power to you over a bridge of trust. Your right to government exists only so long as you uphold that trust, the sacred bond between the governed and the governors. Our trust in you remains strong only so long as we have full knowledge of what your government intends to do and why and how you're going to do it. We, the people of Portsmouth, are by right partners in governing this city. You must provide us the opportunity to help you govern. You must allow us to be part of the decision-making process. You must give us full access to you and your appointees. You must give us sufficient notice of intent to make or change the laws so we may have the opportunity to give you our concerns. That access must be enjoyed by all residents, and that access must be enjoyed by the members of the press, whose job it is to monitor your government and report its activities to the residents. Mr. Mayor, your administration has broken that sacred bond of trust. You have repeatedly, Mr. Mayor, you have repeatedly and deliberately moved your government out of the sunshine and into the darkness. You preside, Mr. Mayor, over a dysfunctional city council in the same manner that residents don't trust their leaders. Your fellow city council persons don't trust each other. This culture of mistrust and non-cooperation confuses and dispirits city staff. The desired outcome of an effective, efficient city government cannot be achieved in this negative environment. We have witnessed the vitally necessary institutional knowledge of the city government either quit or be fired in recent months. Residents are the ultimate losers when senior staff refuse to work for elected leadership. Mr. Mayor, it is time tonight to begin the difficult job of rebuilding our trust in you and your government. We as residents have much at stake. 2 suggestions, if I might, sir. First, you've hired a new city manager who will soon replace other lost senior staff. Make that selection process as open as possible, sir. Create avenues for us to share in the process. Once selected, make a top priority for each new department director or assistant city manager to hold a series of meet and greets with civic and business organizations. Let us get to know your team. Second and final suggestion, Mr. Mayor, is to appoint a Mayor's Blue Ribbon Committee responsible for advising you on how to rebuild the sacred bonds of trust with the residents. Give that committee authority to speak truth to power. Ask for resident volunteers to serve on your committee. Set timetables for the committee to be appointed and to report back to you and the City Council. Lead your fellow council members in a responsible assessment of recommendations. Commit yourself to implementing worthwhile suggestions. Congratulations again for seeking resident input tonight, Mr. Mayor. The success of your administration depends on rebuilding the lost trust with us, your residents. We hope you will make that a priority, and please let us help you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Dawn Richardson. I live at 497 North Street in Old Town. I'm sorry I don't have prepared remarks tonight. I just have a concern. I bought my house. I opened my business in Old Town, Portsmouth, on purpose, specifically because of the historic nature of the area. With the work on the utilities, they're tearing up the streets and stuff. I was told that with the previous city manager that we would be able to keep our granite curbs and our aggregate streets. I've been told lately that that manager's gone and we have a new understanding that is going to be asphalt and concrete curbs. I'd like to know which way you're going. I think it's important for the historic area to remain historic and maintain the preservation and the attitude of the neighborhood.
What was your name again?
Dawn Richardson.
Okay, Ms. Richardson, we will get back with you. A manager just can't say we're going to do something and another one say we're not going to do it. We have in writing and in our plans what we're going to do, and we're going to check and see whatever is going out there, it's going to be. So if someone verbally told you that, I apologize. We're going to do what's on the plans. That's how we operate. And everyone in there should have, no, there are their blueprints and their documents to back up what we're doing for your community and all communities. So it's not a one person because he or she is here or is not here, whether or not we change things. So I will personally get you an answer. Okay? Thank you, ma'am, for coming. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sharon Stanaway, and I'm not a born resident of Portsmouth. I'm from Canada, and I'm legal. I moved here I've been all over the country, and Portsmouth is my home. I love Portsmouth. I'm not for you, for against you. I'm with you. You asked us all to come out tonight. We are here. I see grins on people's faces. I see happiness and sadness. If we do not come together, we can't blame the papers for our mistakes. We have to prove to them. When someone asked me last week, if I was in Virginia at El Dorino's, this gentleman said to me, "Where do you live?" I said, "Portsmouth." He said, "What part of town?" I said, "Portsmouth." I said, "Where do you live?" He said, "Across the street." I said, "Oh, that little old age home over there that you live at." I said, don't criticize Portsmouth unless you come and see the residents that welcome me to this Portsmouth home. And it's not for one, it's for all of us. We all need to sit together, have a piece of pie once in a while, apple pie, dessert comes before dinner once in a while. Let's get this show on the road and stop naming names and blaming people that we have no cure of. Who cares about the paper? Now we have the chance to correct it ourselves. You asked us here, take advantage of what we want you to do. Thank you, and thank you for letting me be the resident of Portsmouth.
Hi, my name is Steve Kurek, and I live in 302 Sequoia Road in Hodges Manor. As a retired naval officer, I've lived in the Tidewater area several times, but this is my first time in Portsmouth. I'm a newcomer to Portsmouth, but I have a specific issue of the proposed removal of the Confederate Memorial. I think that would be a travesty. I think it would be a knee-jerk reaction to several unfortunate events that have happened recently, but for better or for worse, it is part of Portsmouth's landscape, and You know, people who fought in the war between the states, they all fought gallantly, they all fought for a cause they believed in, whether they're right or wrong. It's there, and I think it would just be a travesty to remove it. Plus, it would be an unnecessary financial expense to the city. You know, the so-called Islamic State is out there destroying things that don't fit their ideology, and I think that this would be the equivalent. So I strongly oppose. I am a Washington D.C. dyed-in-the-wool liberal. Okay, but I strongly oppose removing the memorial. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All I want to tell you is that, you know, what you read in the paper, we did not have a closed meeting where we voted to remove the monument. Nor did we give any orders to the city attorney, nor did she say what the paper says she said. So that was totally untrue.
You know, I've got to say that that statement is not quite factual. I've heard a lot tonight, and
be careful, they don't find you.
You might as well take me to jail now because I don't have $1,500. Maybe I can get a loan from some of you. But it was discussed in closed session. I would take a polygraph to that. In fact, maybe I can place a $1,500 bet on it. It was discussed. It should not have been discussed in closed session. And I do not feel that people that you elect to office do not have to go behind closed doors to clear their head. If you gotta do that, I question what you were doing the night before. And I know the bishop was doing the right thing the night before, so I have no qualms about that. I do appreciate everyone coming out here tonight. But closed sessions, there are times that we need closed sessions. When we're discussing personnel, disciplinary issues, a closed session is in order. Nobody likes to be reprimanded in person. I've been in management before and probably been guilty of that before, but you're not supposed to do it. That should be, old saying, praise in public, reprimand behind closed doors. And I do believe that. There are also times when you're negotiating perhaps a new business wants to come to town. There are times that those discussions have to be private for the benefit of the business that's coming to town. They don't want to tip off the competition, and they don't want their business at that point discussed in public. There will come a time when that agreement with the city is made public, and many times there's a public comment session that accompanies that. But, you know, I think this council is certainly supported some good things. But unfortunately, the good things have gotten drowned out in issues that we should not be addressing. That war monument, and it is a war monument, it's been there for 100 years. And in my 17 years and 66 years in Portsmouth, I've never heard the first complaint about it until a few months ago. And all of a sudden, it was labeled a monument of hate.
That's right.
I take exception to that.
I do too, that's right.
In order to propose a compromise, I sent my colleagues an email a few weeks ago saying, I learned recently, a few months ago, that there's a monument in Lincoln Cemetery to the Union soldiers, black soldiers, who fought in the Civil War, or if some like to refer to it, the war between the states.
War of Northern Aggression.
I suggested, and I was seeking feedback and I was seeking a compromise. Why don't we move that monument in the cemetery to the other end of Court Street? I'm still waiting on some feedback as to, Bill, I think that's a crazy idea. I think that's a good idea, or you need to go on to the next idea. But I think we do need to leave one war monument on Court Street, and I would support bringing the one in Lincoln Cemetery to Court Street as well.
Hello, Mayor and Council. My name is Allison Pierce, and I live in beautiful downtown Portsmouth on South Street. I'd like to preface my statements with a quick synopsis of what President Barack Obama has written and posted on whitehouse.gov about transparency and open government. This is in a memorandum for the heads of executive departments and agencies of our federal government. And I quote, "Government should be transparent. Transparency promotes accountability and provides information for citizens about what their government is doing. Government should be participatory. Public engagement enhances the government's effectiveness and improves the quality of its decisions. Government should be collaborative. Collaboration actively engages Americans in the work of their government. As a citizen of this city, I don't see any of these things in our current city government. As a matter of fact, these very things are being chipped away with closed council meetings, censorship of council members, and a cut in citizen speaking time in council meetings. At a time when our city needs change for a better future, you've chosen to push out the citizens that can make it happen. Change comes from within, folks. It'll take a collective effort to improve our city. And unfortunately, at this point, it seems we don't have the leadership to accomplish that task because transformational leadership is what's needed. What is this, you ask? Transformational leadership creates an inspiring vision of the future, motivates and inspires people to engage with that vision, manages delivery of that vision, and coaches and builds a team so that it is more effective at achieving the vision. Taxpayers in Portsmouth have none of the above. Instead, we're looking at a majority of council that sees us as peasants and gives us information on a need-to-know basis while we pay the bills, which is totally unacceptable. We as taxpayers paying your salary deserve to know what you're doing with our money. If anything, you should want the support of your constituents to make our city great. I'll close with this quote from Calvin Coolidge in hopes that changes are made to increase openness and transparency in our city government. And I quote, "I favor the policy of economy, not because I wish to save money, but because I wish to save people. The men and women of this country who toil are the ones who bear the cost of the government. Every dollar that we carelessly waste means that their life will be so much more meager. Every dollar that we save means that their life will be so much more the better. Economy is idealism in its most practical form. Please help us with our economy."
Thank you, that was well said. You know, when you've been born in Portsmouth all your life, I have, served in the military in Vietnam, Portsmouth is without a doubt the city that stands above everything. Sometimes we get caught up in the mediocre things. I don't recall having the monument discussion in a closed meeting, but that's minute compared to some of the great things that has happened in our city. Contrary to a lot of dismay, the courthouse is a structure that we can be glad of, not because of what the purpose is, but the corridor on Frederick Boulevard, when I was young, that was Mid-City Shopping Center, and to see this great turnaround and see this great resurrection, what was falling down, rise above through the ashes. There are a lot of good things, and some of the smaller things that we're dealing with now have overshadowed some of the bigger things. We can disagree, but it gets bad if we stay in a disagreeable spirit. We can disagree. We have that privilege to do so. I've been outvoted on a lot of things. I was getting sick and tired of seeing 7-Elevens pop up everywhere, especially when they started coming in the community where Capitol Manor is. And we see these things and people think that's gonna bring in a lot of cash. We need to build up our waterfront, bring back a hotel that's comparable to the one that was there and even better, so that we can bring conferences to our city. We need to concentrate on these things, and that's what we're going. But the things behind closed doors, you've always had closed meetings. Executives in every business have closed meetings, not to hide, but to make the best decisions, especially when we're dealing with personnel matters and legal issues. We cannot just jump and let everybody know about some ongoing litigation that's going on. So if you're looking at us to be the bad guys, I think the difference with that, we're all educated, college degrees. We know what's right and what's wrong, and we have the best interests of our citizens all the time. And the makeup of our city it doesn't matter whether we're white, black, whatever. We stand for the city. If we fall in one area, we all fall. To be at best, we need to hear what you say. Don't shoot bullets at us. Tell us what you got to say without trying to demean us. We live in Portsmouth too. And I just want you to know, when you say some bad things, it does hurt. But we learn to rise above it. Amen. I'm glad that my walk isn't what it used to be. I don't think I could have stood as much as I'm getting. But praise be to God that when He changes you, He changes you. Let's get the word. Tell us the things that you want us to look at. Tell us where you want us to go, without telling us about everything that we already know that's happening in the paper. Share your ideas. Let us know what you think will be better for the city. And stop trying to rally support things that are in the past. We stay in the past, we're going to be stuck in the mud. But if you want to grow, let's disagree, but don't be disagreeable.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, City Council. First, I want to apologize for looking like this. I would have been more appropriate, but I came straight from work because I knew this was important.
Your name and address?
My name is Debbie, and I live in Port Norfolk, and I'm a Portsmouth girl, born and raised. I want to say, first of all, that I've already talked to the city manager about what I want to ask, first of all, and I know she can't address this, so I'll address it to the council in hopes that maybe more than one will answer my question or can answer. I see on this sheet that they passed out, they have an exodus of city leaders who have left the city. I want to speak to one particular, the name Dennis Bagley. And the reason I want to speak to that name is because he was wrongfully terminated from our city, and they degraded him very badly. And I know that he was let go last month. And I know that he took a job in the city of Norfolk just this week. I know that he loves the city of Portsmouth and now has to move to the city of Norfolk where he will work. What I feel he waited for, let me just tell you what I know he waited for, was the fact that he was hoping our new city manager would come in and rehire him knowing they had done wrong. What I want to know is, anyone on the city council worried about him suing the city for wrongful termination? Because I'm worried about him suing the city for wrongful termination. And how many of your fraternity brothers are you going to hire for these positions? I'm just curious. I'm just curious. I know you have a lot of fraternity brothers that are with you up in the offices, and I just want to know, how are we looking to hire these people? And what, I'm just going to stop with that. And I want to know, are you going to address all of the other people's questions? Because some of the First Lady's questions haven't been answered yet.
What was your name again, ma'am?
My name is Debbie Morton, and I live on Broad Street in Portsmouth.
Thank you, Debbie, for your comment. We unfortunately cannot talk and discuss personnel matters or those issues.
Well, he's not
Debbie,
personnel
I'm not
anymore.
going to debate you. I'm
So.
talking now, Debbie.
Oh.
Debbie, thank you. Yes, sir. Ed, Ned.
Before I get my $1,500 fine.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. My name is Ned McCabe, and I am not a Portsmouth native. I came here in 1982. But those of you in this room that know me know I've spent countless hours of community service in Portsmouth. And I wasn't going to speak here tonight. I was going to keep quiet and just observe what was going on tonight. But I'd like to take us back. I'd like to take us back to 2002. As you know, the other day was the 14th anniversary of 9/11. And as I sit there and watched the things unfolding in New York on TV for the thousandth time, it seems, I pulled out the tape of our commemorative prayer service that we did in Norfolk, September 11, 2002. And it was a great day in Portsmouth. Thousands of people came downtown, and we marched from the Antelos Pavilion down to High Street Landing. And the riderless horse with the boots in its stirrups backwards led the way, led the procession. Dr. Patton, you were there. I saw you in the march. Elizabeth, you were there. Bill, you were there. I'm not sure Paige was there because this was back in 2002. But it just seemed, and of course there was Mayor Holly, and he had a brand new baseball cap on it, still had the price tag on it. And we marched down to the Antelos Pavilion and had a wonderful service. We had over 70 churches take part in this. We had 70 choirs take part in this. And the spirit that day is one of mutual respect. If you remember, the Navy all were lined up all the way around High Street Landing on the bottom steps, standing at attention like this, or parade rest, whatever this is, the whole time. That's what I'd like to see this city get back to. I've worked hard. I've been an elected official in the city of Portsmouth, so I know how hard you all work. But I think if we start working together and we think about one thing, when I was on the school board, every decision I made, I always asked myself, how does this benefit the children? How is this going to benefit the children of Portsmouth? And I ask you to please think in your decisions on City Council, how does this benefit every citizen of Portsmouth? Not just some, not just others, but every citizen of Portsmouth. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Donna Sy, and I live in the Woodbine Farm neighborhood. Principles of Liberty number 9, to protect man's rights, God has revealed certain principles of divine law. Rights, though furnished by God, are untransferable privilege, could not remain unalienable unless these rights were protected as enforceable rights under a code of divinity proclaimed law. William Blackstone pointed out that the Creator is not only all-powerful, but also a supreme being of infinite wisdom. God's laws were founded in relation of justice. Relations of justice are the eternal, unchangeable laws of good and evil, to which the Creator himself gives his creatures choices to obey, which God has enabled human reason to discover whether it is good or evil. Human reason is necessary for the conduct of human actions. Our actions are to live honestly, don't hurt anybody, and render to everyone his due. These sound principles of law are based on God's law. God disclosed these laws to man by direct revelation. These revealed laws are found only in the Holy Scriptures and are designed to promote, preserve, and protect man's unalienable rights. This is the basis of our American government. These divine principles of law for human happiness requires a recognition of God's supremacy over all things, that man is specifically forbidden to attribute God's power to false gods like money, food, sex, land, and authority, that the name of God is to be held in reverence, and every oath taken in the name of God is to be carried out with the utmost faithfulness and duty. There is also a requirement to set aside a day each week for life is also to be kept sacred, that a person shall not lie, the study of God's laws of a personal renewing of one's commitment to obey God's law for happy living. There are also requirements to strengthen family ties by children honoring parents, and parents maintaining the sanctity of their marriage and not committing adultery after marriage, and youth maintaining their single life and are forbidden to commit sexual commerce before marriage. That human shall not steal, that every person must be willing to work for the things he desires from life and not covet and scheme to get the things which belong to his neighbor. In recent years, the universal emphasis on rights has seriously obscured the unalienable duties which are imposed upon mankind by divine laws. Thomas Jefferson said, "Man has no natural rights in opposition to his social duties." There are two kinds of duties, public and private. Public duties relate to public morality and are usually supported by local or state ordinances, which can be enforced by the police powers of the state. Private duties are those which exist between the individual and his creator. These are called principles of private morality. The only enforcement agency is the self-discipline of the individual himself. William Blackstone was referring to public and private morality when he said, "Let a man therefore keep his wickedness to himself, and do not offend against the rules of public decency. But if he makes his vices public, he then sets a bad example of destructive effects to society, and therefore it is then the business of human laws to correct them." Our unalienable duties constitute a responsibility imposed on each individual to respect the absolute rights of others. Here are a few of our duties, not the government's. Number 6, the duty of parents and elders to protect, teach, feed, clothe, and provide shelter for children. 12, the duty to become economically self-sufficient. 14, the duty to maintain the integrity of the family structure. 16, the duty not to promote or participate in devices which destroy personal and community life. Number 17, the duty to perform civic responsibilities, vote, assist public officials, serve in official capacities when called upon, stay informed on public issues, volunteer where needed. 19, the duty to support personal and public standards of common decency. And 20, the duty to follow rules of moral practice. As a citizen, I did my public duty to attend 2 meetings at the General Assembly. On Tuesday, September the 8th, I went to the Commission on Youth. A study of the use of federal, state, and local funds for private educational placement of students with disabilities was presented by Leah Mills, Senior Policy Analyst with the Commission on Youth. The Commission on Youth will be accepting public comments on the 2015 draft findings and recommendations for temporary placement of children and the use of federal, state, and local funds for private educational placements of students with disabilities. In the report, it stated that there are more children in foster care and there is an increase in children with autism. Today, I went to the General Assembly for the Joint Legislative Audit and Review Commission for the efficacy and effectiveness of K-12 spending given by Mr. Jamie Bitts, team leader of JR. After his report, Ann Holton, Secretary of Education, made some comments. Here are a few ideas they were presented. Instructional and non-instructional spending is less and is hindering effectiveness of students' learning. 92% of spending is on salaries and benefits. A recommendation is that General Assembly appropriate funds to the Virginia Department of Education for additional state staff to provide teacher support. Health insurance spending has increased 66%. Poverty expects learning. So let a man therefore keep his wickedness to himself, and do not offend against the rules of public decency. But if he makes his license public, he then becomes a bad example and has a destructive effect to society. Therefore, it has been the business of human laws to correct this weakness. Portsmouth has a failure with the taxes and the churches to teach the study of God's law for personal renewing of the citizens' commitment to obey God's law for happy living. The churches are failing to teach the parents their duty to require children to honor them and their elders with strengthen family ties. Teaching parents they need to maintain the sanctity of their marriage and stop committing adultery after they get married. Teaching youth to maintain their single life and that they are prohibited from committing sexual commerce before marriage. Our unalienable duties constitute a responsibility imposed on each individual as well as others have been disregarded when men trade in sexual commerce and bring forth children that we the people have to pay for, and the state and federal government impose laws on the taxpayers to pay for the 68% free and reduced lunches for unwanted children, catastrophic discipline issues in the school division, public housing and homeless funds created by the federal government as a result of wickedness. The federal, the state, and local governments are imposing laws that are taking away our rights because many citizens are failing to impose self-discipline on themselves. Thanks for listening.
Yes, sir.
I'm not quite sure how I follow that. And I mean no disrespect, really. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council members. My name is Gary Gossage. I am a resident citizen of Portsmouth, 247 Douglas Avenue, in the wonderful Port Norfolk section. My family, we have been there 13 years now, and let me state for the record so that I will hopefully not receive any retribution for my comments tonight, that I am also a city employee, however ignorant or stupid I may come across. Dr. Patton has met with some of us city employees and has encouraged us to always speak positively of Portsmouth, and I will always try to do that. But unfortunately, this current city council makes it a little more difficult for me to do so. Not that I feel we citizens should have to. Thank you for graciously giving of your time to come out and listen to us. I do thank you. I would like to offer you, as I know you've had discussions regarding whether or not the community meetings are necessary or worthwhile. Well, I think tonight you find out that it is. You may not be getting the comments that you want to get, but thank you for allowing us to do this. I do have some concerns I need to share. First off, just so I can cause controversy, I do believe all lives matter. Regardless of your race, your creed, whatever, all lives do matter. I want to thank the Portsmouth Police Department for their hard work, for all that they're having to endure, for having to deal with the public that is becoming increasingly more and more belligerent towards them because of the job that they were hired to do. Again, all of our lives matter. Street sweeping. When I first moved here, there was a sign in front of my house that indicated my car needed to be moved the third Tuesday every month between 8 a.m. and 12 o'clock noon. Or we got the little reminder. I can honestly say I never got the reminder. This past Thursday at 7:20, the street sweeper came through. A welcome sight, just as I was leaving to go to work. But I wondered to myself, why so early? There were still so many cars parked along the curb. This service basically was useless. The street sweeper went down the middle of the street. We did not benefit from that monthly, 6-weekly, however it's determined, run of coming through our street. So I would like to ask, how can we get back to that scheduled street sweeping service? This is a concern, folks. I know services are cut because of dwindling tax dollars and things like that. But if we're going to have the street sweepers, Let's use them and let's make them productive of when they come around. So I thank you for that. Access to our public servants, and this is where I'll stop. You recently voted by a last-minute agenda item so that there would be little to no public comment to reduce the amount of time that you would allow us, your constituents, to address you. Vice Mayor Simmons, you shared of a phone call that you received early one Sunday morning and how you felt like you caught the gentleman off guard because he wasn't really expecting to get you, hopefully get your voicemail, and who knows what message he was planning on leaving. And that you even tried calling him back later on that morning because you were genuinely concerned someone was calling you. Well, I don't do that. When I see you out in public, and Ms. Simmons, I see you in the food line, Councilman Rudy, I'll see you out, Bishop, I'll see you out. I'm not going to approach you to say, blah, 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 blah. I'll say hello, I'll let you go about your business. That's the courtesy and respect that I afford you. So, when I come before you at a city council meeting, you've now taken away some of my time as access to you because of the respect I'm trying to afford you when you're not up on that dais. Sometimes I feel like you get bothered by listening to us. And I've even seen it tonight with body language. When you're pulling out your cell phone and doing a message when someone is speaking, regardless if you want to hear it or not, that's disrespectful. If I pulled out my cell phone and was doing that right now while talking to you, you would probably already have written me off. So, as you hurriedly ran that vote through with little comment, except for the folks who are always there, you took away some of my time as access to you, and I don't like that. I have attended 2 city council meetings since living here. I have emailed you all through the city's website, the email address, 2 times. No response. No response. Yes, I'm a city employee. If you email me and I don't respond back to you, there's going to be repercussions against me. So I'm asking you that if I'm going to email you via the website provided for us, at least respond. I don't have your phone numbers. I don't want your phone number because I'm not going to call you. I'm going to deal with you at the city council meeting or a public forum like this. I'm going to try as best as I can to give you the respect that you deserve. Visiting you at a city council is my only option. You have limited my only option of access with you. And for that, I don't appreciate it. For you see, you're not going to see me every council meeting. I know you have others. I watch online. I watch on TV. You already have others that you will hear from every single meeting, every single time, and that's their God-given right. But please, you have limited my access to you, and I do not appreciate that. I thank you for your time. I thank you for giving us this forum, and however disinterested some of you are, the rest of you, I thank you.
Let me just say 2 things. First of all, we will look into the street sweeping issue because that is a concern, and we do want to make sure we're being as effective as possible. Second, you started your comments off talking about the forum and thanking us for the forum, and I appreciate that because this is precisely what we want to hear. We're not here to hear things that we want or don't want or like or don't like. We're here to hear from you, and we have not had this in quite a while. And I think in our last 2 conversations, we talked about not holding these meetings because of that very issue. And unfortunately, we wait until we're all angry before we show up and want to have these things. And as the bishop and some others said, I think Ned said about respect and dialogue, that is the intent of these meetings. not because a potash company wanted to come, and we packed this building about 3 years ago. And then I think the second issue was some business here that was disorderly, and I think it was the Churchland Auditorium about 2 years ago. And other than that, we've had more of our staff people here than we've had citizens. And so trust me when I say I appreciate all of you coming, because this is precisely what we want to hear. Whether we agree with you or not, you're going to be respectful, and I want to try to get your comments out. Now, we read initially the way in the format we want to have this. Most of you have not followed it. Most of you have read for several minutes, and I've allowed it to happen. Okay? I've allowed it because we want to be respectful for everyone. We're going to leave here at 9 o'clock. We've got 38 minutes. So if you want to continue to come up and read for 5 minutes, I'm still going to allow it. But you're going to cut someone else's time out. So please be respectful. You clap when the lady over there was reading. Whether you agreed with what she was reading or how she was saying it, please let her finish. It may not be what you want to hear, but that's what she came to say. So again, let's be respectful so we can continue with time. Thank you for your comments. We'll check on the street sweeper thing. Yes, sir. Good evening. Your name and your address.
Good evening, Mayor and address of the council members. My name is Albert Mann. I came here in 1986 with the Navy. I am retired Navy. I'm a retired Navy officer. And I came to Portsmouth. I was very impressed with the city. Nonetheless, as I started exploring the school system, I was not impressed. I had school-age children, even though my job was here in Portsmouth at the Naval Hospital. I elected to move to Virginia Beach because of the school system. That was the only reason I moved to Virginia Beach. The treacherous drive in the morning time to get to the Naval Hospital at 7 o'clock in the morning and get a report and to go ahead and take care of patients during the daytime. So it was wait to go back home, the same thing. I was impressed that I stated that my wife and myself, we agreed that once retiring, that we would consider moving to Portsmouth. And we did. Moved here in 2004, we moved into Green Lakes subdivision. I stayed 163 Yorkshire Road. After I retired, I worked at your jail as a medical administrator. I organized the jail. I got the certification for the jail, for the NCCHC. Okay. It was the only jail in the state of Virginia that was certified. I was instrumental in doing that. What I was, another concern, looking at the jail, the property in which you were resting on, prime real estate. Why would a jail be located on the waterfront? Probably the best real estate you got in Portsmouth. And I still don't know as to why. I think now is the time to really address the issue. I come to this meeting, didn't know what the format was. I came here, thought the agenda would be on growth and economics. One thing that impressed me when I came to Portsmouth, you had a vision, Vision 2005. It was a good vision. Right now, I don't see, if there's a vision, I don't see it. You may have one implemented, I don't know. But nonetheless, what I'm saying at this particular time, the agenda I thought was going to happen, it's not. All I see is hate, discontent, dark room. Okay, the millions of people, they got enough. I believe problem, address the problem, the best thing about problems, solutions. So, let the people, by the people, all the people, for the people. The problem being addressed, I think the council member got enough to take it back to the table and put an agenda. Now, one thing I know that the Navy taught me, leadership. Leadership not easy. Walk in the shoes sometimes. Sometimes when we think the solution is right there before us, it's not. It takes time. It takes time. And one thing about problems in this day and time, economics. Money. If you don't have the money, you can't address the problem. So somebody always gonna be left out in the cold. So, I would like to see, as I say, when I came to this city, I was impressed, but I was not impressed with the school system. The school system still has a lot to be desired. My two daughters went to James Madison and the University of Virginia. They're both graduates. I don't think they would have been able to do that with the Portsmouth school system. Now, growth of Portsmouth is going to be contingent upon your young people. If you don't have something implemented for your younger generation, your demise is soon to be recognized. You know, look at it. We all senior citizens. As I look around this room, we all gonna be gone. Yeah, so, well, let's say it like this. Well, all of us got more time behind us than we got in front of us. Okay? That's reality. That's reality. But what do we have for the young people? How many college graduates do you have coming back to the city? That's where we need to be focused. We need to go ahead and build a civic center or something. Take that jail down, put yourself a civic center there. We need to do that. Something that's for the people. Right now, what good does that jail give to you? All you got are people who go in, they become permanent resident, in and out, revolving doors. And one thing I know about the jail, and I know the mayor asked for being brief, I'm going to do that. One thing I know about the jail is maintenance. Maintenance. Back in 1996, they spent a lot of money keeping that thing up. Every time it rains, you have flooding in the jail. Why promote the white elephant? That's what you have. Take that jail down, send people to the regional jail, and put that money into your sewer system.
Thank you, sir. Do your best.
Thank you, Mr. Mann. You brought up economic development. And I'd just like to share that I know everybody wants to throw darts at us, and I've had plenty thrown at me in the last year. But the fact of the matter is, I was sitting here thinking, with the exception of Councilman Whitaker, every single person sitting beside me, I supported the last time they ran for office. I worked hard for Mr. Cherry, for Mr. Moody's re-election. I worked hard for Mayor Wright to be elected. Yes, I ran against him the first time, but the second time I supported him. Councilman Edmonds and I ran in the same election the last time around and supported each other. We're not enemies. This is not a black and white issue. The issues we're having are green. It's about the economy and economic development. And until we, the greater we, learn to speak civilly to each other and get along and work together and be transparent in how we feel and what we do, we will not bring economic development into the city. I just gave a talk last Thursday to a Rotary Club about building in the city of Portsmouth. And it made me do a little study with our economic development folks. There is 100, and the whiteboard, I should have brought it in, the whiteboard sitting in my car right now. There's $164 million worth of private investment development turning dirt in Portsmouth right now. That's not city money, that's not tax money, that is private money. That's That's the Breeden Company and the Whitmore Company and the Monument Company, and yes, all your 7-Elevens, and the new Wawa, and the Kroger Center, and the Marketplace, the stores around that, and the Albies in Churchland, or Aldi in Churchland. There are good things going on. And yes, Ms. Boone, you need answers to your questions, and I'll give them to you after this meeting. And yes, Dr. Capel, I heard what you said. And the fact of the matter is, we don't vote on CBDG money or bond money until the next year and the next year. So it's really not fair to say you've committed this for 3 years. That's not true. This council hadn't committed anything past the fiscal year that we're in now.
I'm delighted to hear that.
And I hope all of you understand that although, yes, we disagree, the 7 of us disagree on a lot of things. We all love this city. We all want to work together. We all want this to be a better city. We agreed unanimously to hire this smart woman at the end of the line here. And I really hope that we will be her chance so that we can get together and have a vision that is everybody's vision to move forward. Because it is not black and white, it is a green issue.
My name is Nancy Lamartin, and I live in Shea Terrace, and I would like to speak to a green issue, but I also want to talk about racism. And you're going to find me probably as being very direct. I believe very strongly that the tunnel situation, and I'm talking about all of the 4 crossings of the Elizabeth River, they have created a barrier. We, on this side, are a minority, and I still have a problem with this. I believe very strongly that the No Tolls group did an outstanding job, but I believe that the Supreme Court of Virginia was the fox guarding the hen house. I think in your vision, I think you need to look at something that can pull Portsmouth together, and I think that we should revisit the tunnel situation. I believe that there should be tolls on the new tunnel and on the private bridge. That's fine. But there is such a thing as economic justice, or rather environmental justice, and under that comes social justice. And according to social justice, we are not, minorities and areas that have a significant number of people at or below the poverty level are not supposed to be harmed by projects that involved federal funds. The old tunnels, the downtown and the midtown tunnel, had federal funds involved with them. Those tunnels should not have tolls on them. And I think that the city should invest in a lawyer that deals exclusively with revisiting environmental justice and that deals with the executive order, which there is an executive order, and I don't remember the number of it. It is on No Tolls, notolls.blogspot.com. There is some information about that. But there is an executive order that also goes along and speaks to all of this. We have been, all of us are suffering, and particularly minorities and people at or below the poverty level. The barrier is creating a problem with us getting jobs on the other side. If you look at Portsmouth, we have about 300 jobs over here. There's 1,000 jobs in Norfolk, and it is preventing us from going to Virginia Beach, which is farther. Okay, and there's more jobs over there. So it's preventing us from obtaining jobs. It's preventing us from really easily accessing higher education at both Norfolk State and Old Dominion University. And it is preventing many, particularly the elderly, from being able to access medical care at the hospital. We have our own hospital, but many people go and have business at Norfolk General, and there is no children's hospital on this side. So this is segregation, and it's not separate but equal. It's separate and unequal because we don't have all of the assets and the facilities over here. Okay? Now, I am looking at your faces, and I was looking at your faces before, and I'm very in tune with body language. And I can see that this interests you, and I think this interests a lot of other people. I think we need to attack this on a federal level. and attack this as a civil rights issue that we need to get behind. And I think this is something that could pull us all together. And yes, it's beyond black and white. It is a green issue, but it is certainly an issue that affects minorities, and it affects people at or below the poverty level. And I would like to say something. I am a minority. I might not look like it, I'm as light as can be, but I am a minority, okay? So that's all I have to say. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, and I'll just say briefly, there is some validity to your comments, and I do believe the Department of Justice, we could have pursued that avenue, but when the Supreme Court of Virginia agreed that we have viable alternatives than the tolls, which we all in here agree that that's not true, it makes it for a hard case to go before justice. I don't want to debate it. I've talked to some Washington folks. I've even been to the Secretary of Transportation talking about some of those issues and the economic impacts from the minority and the civil rights piece. So there's some validity there, but it was a terrible blow that we received from the Supreme Court that would probably cause the political piece to be extremely hard to overcome.
I think they did not deal with it on a federal level. They dealt with it on a state level. It needs to be dealt with on a federal level and raised as a federal issue.
I get it.
Not state.
We have federal money in here, and that was the reason why we wanted to pursue that angle. There was some TIFIA money involved, and I believe some Tiger money, but about $500 million of TIFIA money that came from the feds, which would have allowed us to pursue the justice route. But thank you for your comments. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Athena Jones. What a lively conversation this has been. There are so many things to talk about, but one of my concerns is that every time I hear people talk, there's a sense of a lack of hope. Because hope in how the system is continuing to move forward, hope in being able to move our lives to the next generation, hope in the leaders that are representing us, that represent our interests and our values at best. And so constantly I keep hearing the lack of hope. And I wonder whether or not it's being received. And when things like the time from the city council moved from 3 minutes to 5, or from 5 minutes to 3 minutes, that degrades the opportunity for us to have hope in you representing us equally. When you say things like, we have to move the monument at $117,000 cost to a community that's already $20 million in debt, that prevents hope in us towards you being able to represent us properly. You know, when we talk, I keep thinking about that monument, and oftentimes, of course, I wouldn't be on the side of the Confederacy. Of course, I understand the historical value of what Virginia played in it. I get that. But at $117,000, at this point, that's just a totem that represents a point in history that existed then, and we acknowledge that it happened. Let's move on, because we don't need $117,000 spent to prove that we don't exactly that doesn't represent who we are. But what does represent Portsmouth currently are all the 7-Elevens. What represents the totem of what Portsmouth is all the grocery stores. What represents the totem of what Portsmouth is all of the pharmaceuticals with the $7 an hour jobs, where people, again, are trying to invest in the community, but they can't because the only jobs that they can get, because they are prevented to move forward through the tunnel because it is an economic issue, because we can't allow people to continue to say, well, just pull yourself up with the bootstraps. But when we live in a community that prevents hope to flourish, then we start to see things in the paper where we see closed doors. And I saw you sitting, I saw you in there, and on the front page, and it's moving 5 minutes to 3 minutes in a closed session. Let's be reminded, the Bible says, shun the very appearance of evil. And it seems as if this is causing all of this uprise with the secret conversations that are happening, then sir, as a man or a woman of God, you need to shun the very appearance of evil. With without hesitation, people will support the vision. But we have to make sure that the vision coincides with the future of what Portsmouth can be, and not with the economic prosperity possibilities of what people can be as elected officials that sit across from us at city council meetings. We want to make sure that we're represented, because we will follow you, because you were elected for a reason. Someone in here put you in that office. But we want to make sure that that hope stands sure, so that we can have a Portsmouth that we can say we're proud to be Portsmouth, as opposed to, why don't you live in Virginia Beach? As opposed to, why don't you live in Norfolk? Go to Suffolk, you get better services there. We live in Portsmouth because we want to live in Portsmouth. And if it continues along this line, it'll be really hard to live in Portsmouth, because we won't be able to live here because we can't afford the taxes. And that's a problem.
Yes, sir.
I think that deserves a response.
Yes, sir.
That's what I figured. Thank you, sir. I don't have an agenda exactly. I'm not upset. I want to say hello to all of you. Mr. Mayor, it's like being near a celebrity. I've seen you on TV so much. This is my first time at one of these things, but I want to give you all a fantastic opportunity. The Federal Communication Commission has given me the opportunity to start an FM radio station in Portsmouth. Yes. So, right. I'm trying to keep it quick. So, if you're looking for an outlet, if you're looking for somewhere for your kids to be when they're suspended, or your grandkids, if you're looking for somebody to maybe broadcast your grandson's Pop Warner game, that's the best game around, and to add cohesiveness to Portsmouth, and encompass every other of the 7 cities into Portsmouth, and bring us some activity, and some friends, and some parties, and some awareness, and a national spotlight, please reach out to us. I call it the heartbeat of Hampton Roads, and I'm here in Portsmouth.
Could you give your name and your address?
Absolutely, I will.
Yes.
I say all that to say this. I love Portsmouth. You understand? I call it you understand? So, whatever the issues may be, I can give you a forum to express those. Not every one of them, but some of them. As I said, I'm gonna be brief. My name is Mr. Brooks. My email is Mr. Brooks 757 @gmail.com. THE1 MRBROOKS 757 @gmail.com. FTC cleared, 100 miles of clearance. WJVA is what we like to call it. I have programs, I have all sorts of things, but I do need a little help. I think I've met most of you before. Good to see you all. I hope to see you all again.
Your address, Mr. Brooks, you didn't give that.
My address, I live in Churchland, Brookmere Lane. It's in Maryfields.
Okay.
I graduated from both the local universities. I've never been to jail. I'm big and strong, and I'm really nice. Look out for me. I say I got big things to do. I'm really nice. Okay. The number one, Mr. Brooks, 757 @gmail.com.
Thank you, sir.
We haven't launched yet. I'm not going to tell you the FM number. But if you get in contact with me, you can be a part of it. How about that?
Thank you, Mr. Brooks.
God bless everyone.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, honorable members of council, and fellow citizens. My name is Mark Adobe-Gutrovsky. I live in the great Sterling Point neighborhood of Portsmouth. And there are so many things in so little time. First, let me say thank you to Councilmember Edmonds for standing up and telling the story as he knows it of all of you on council. I consider Councilmember Edmonds the one person I would go to for straight information. And I would trust him with my wallet, as long as it's not Sunday. Secondly, I want to express my deep gratitude to the citizens who turned on a dime when council slammed in at the very last minute an item that limited the amount of time speakers have to address them on issues. I want to thank Ms. Donna Sy I want to thank Ms. Athena Jones, and I want to thank Sergeant Major Clyde Tolan for their spirited defense of something that has been an institution here longer than I've been here. And that's not to say I've been here any great amount of time. I've lived here 18 years, and not one of you was on council when that 5-minute limit was put in place. And so you are overturning a precedent that precedes your tenure on this elected body. And I believe that in the next election, there should be candidates coming forward who will pledge to return that limit to its previous level. Next, I want to give you all an apology because I made the mistake of believing what I read in the papers at the time you slammed in that change from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. I read an article in the Pilot. I was out of the country. I have an excuse. Normally, I'm sitting there out in the hall waiting for that door to open to see what may or may not occur after you come out of closed session. So I took the reporter's account as factual. I subsequently received an email from a member of council. What the reporter said was, you made the decision in closed session. I subsequently received an email from a member of council saying that that discussion did not occur in closed session. The member who wrote to me, I responded. I asked if I could get some additional information about it, and there was no response to that, and no response to subsequent requests. I went to look at the video recording of that work session. For whatever reason, council did not direct the videographer to turn the camera back on when you had the subsequent discussion in the open session that followed the closed session. So you didn't have proof positive. But when I got back to this side of the ocean, I asked the person that I felt the greatest degree of trust in on council to tell me whether it occurred in closed session. And Councilmember Edmonds told me it did not. So I had two reliable sources, like a good journalist should, that it did not. And so I apologize to you for falsely accusing you of something you did not do. I want to say in regard to something Mr. Moody asserted when he spoke to the people here. He attested that there are things that happen in closed session that are not covered by the motion. But I have yet to see in the final certification of any closed meeting a vote of no by Councilmember Moody when you all affirm or swear that what you discussed was only what you voted to discuss, and you had stayed within the law. Now, any member of council who believes that you strayed from the original motion to close that meeting should have voted no at the end and not certified. But that's not on the record anyway. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Moody.
Well, Mr. Mark Godolny-Jatrovsky, you need to look back on the records, and I think Ms. White would attest to that. I had voted against closed motions in the past, and more importantly, I'll be voting against many of them in the future. And part of the problem is the recent motions have become so broad that you don't know what the subject matter is until you get into the closed session. For example, the strategy that was being discussed in closed session referenced the war monument. If you read the motion, it did not say discussion and strategy of a war monument. It was covered under the broad section of possible litigation. Well, usually the motion on possible litigation is usually the city being sued, that we're on the defense. In fact, our city attorney used the term that this time the city is going on the offense. And every member here heard that term used. If you go back to the motion, Mr. Godalnik-Yatrovsky, you will not see that there, sir. So to answer your question, yeah, I voted against them in the past, but you'll see a lot more of them in the future, so stay tuned.
I found out about the meeting today, so I got here late, so I don't know all the information I'm allowed to talk about. I'm just talk from my heart. I heard people addressing racism. I heard people addressing the four blacks on the city council and the mayor. I heard people addressing their opinion about the different horsemen and whatnot. But I'm gonna address the issues about the taxes came to me and many others that have been here for many years. Was, I'm gonna use for an example, I remember when I had an old building going up for $16,000 and I tried to get them to tear it down and they wouldn't tear it down. As a incoming homeowner passed through my family. So the only choice I did was to renovate. And I noticed that it went from 16 to 73. Wow. And then the taxes jumped up, and it's still jumping up. So it all happened long before y'all got in those seats, and I just wanted to address that. So I don't want to feel like everybody is saying that you had these taxes and they sick of it. They knew about it long before you got here. The other part about the monument, yes, there's a lot of money involved. I came up around a lot as well as anybody else. I'm from the old school with racism, and I had to sit in the back of the bus. I might don't look that old, but I'm old enough that I was the first one on the school bus, but I had to go in the back of the bus, but I refused to do it. So now it seems to me, living through racism as a child, watching all this stuff going on during Martin Luther King and so many other things, and some of my family of slavery. It's still going on, but it's a modern way. And I just wanted to say that we have people today, I came in and I look at how the people sitting in here, they are divided in their hearts, and they also divided the way they sit. And then they're disrespecting you as a black race, and I'm not addressing this white council. I'm not being racist, I'm letting you know that. But I noticed when we had all white, nobody made no, battle coming in the city hall. Because I noticed something about us as a black race. We tolerated a lot of mess, even though we didn't come to the city hall and address you and disrespect you as a white team of people that was supposed to be in leadership, and we have to vote them in. But the thing is, we showed respect. So now what I'm asking is, I'm concerned about the issue about the taxes. I noticed in my neighborhood, I went and looked up a lot of stuff. And I saw that my taxes study clamming why the value of the home is dropping. Now, another thing I wanted to address about the streets, you know, I noticed in my neighborhood, and I'm not ashamed to say that I had addressed it one time and they paid me. But here it is, 2015, cracked up streets. I got video, and I tell anybody, do not come and talk to nobody if you don't document. I believe in documentation is very important. When I come to say something and come to complain about something, when I'm ready, I got plenty of documentation throughout this city and the areas that I want to address. And another thing, when you're talking to the media, I don't care if it's the councilmen or whoever, or the citizens, I feel, number one, I'm not going to talk to them unless I put it in writing what I have to say, because words can be changed and misinterpreted of what you want to say. So for your own protection, I feel that you need to do that. I'm going to wrap it up a little bit real quick. I want to see unity in this city. There's a lot of racism, whether anybody wants to own it or not. And first, the monument, yeah, it's been here. Like some people say, as a kid, I ain't paying how many years it's been here. But I have pictures to show before the incidents with the 9 lives of the church. I was taking pictures, making comments between me and my family about the monument, why they didn't have some. But I didn't say anything about it, you know, because we as blacks see this been going on for years with us. So some of us, you know, we speak among each other. I'm just calling it what I know. We're talking, but we never come forth to address it. So therefore, it's a lot of things when you got this kind of council and mayor, it seems like everybody want to attack, and they got their own agenda. So I just wanted to say that I want to see in the city of Portsmouth more business come. I have to go all the way to Chesapeake to buy ink for my printer. We need more of things that we need to have. And these for us, a lot of food and restaurant, that's fine, but we need more things in our city for our children and families. And I have addressed that in the old school. Councilor Moody is the only one on the seat, and I don't know if he can remember it, but we addressed a lot of things, and I'll be addressing it sooner or later.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am. We got 2 minutes, sir.
Don't worry, we all are. I'm a retired city official, but mine's gonna be short. My name is Moses Atkins Jr. Some of you in here might know me. Some of you in here might remember me. I've been in city government 42 years. 6 years Norfolk, 36 years Portsmouth. Didn't even like Portsmouth. I had one of those mean A-baddies from the waterfront. I was blessed. My dad come from the waterfront. You better go find you a job and leave that substitute teaching alone after I had left Norfolk. Got over here in Portsmouth and loved it. Other than that over here. I'm here today, Councilman, to support you. I have seen plenty of city councilors in this city. I think one of my favorites, I am from Berkeley, that my Berkeley boy was the city manager, Dr. Patton, George Hanbury. George Hanbury and I were very close. I used to work for his parents to earn money to go to the movies. And he was surprised. I met him. He was in Norfolk after he finished all of the big schools. I had to go to the smaller one. But nevertheless, George and I were very good friends here, and he taught me a lot. I do understand some of the things you're going through. That's right, the green issue is a matter. You are blessed to doing what you can do. You're doing a good job now, I see, with the, what's my area over here? That all of the new businesses coming in here. That's really good. I like that. I like that very much. As the young lady said, I know her very well too. Because I told you I know quite a few by working in the workforce. Keep up the good work, and may the Lord bless you, and heaven smile upon you.
Thank you very much. We'll let you go as well as yourself, and Mr. Mortimer, if you want to stand back up, we'll let you three go, and then we'll wrap up. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. My name is Cassandra Cobb. I live in the Churchland area of Portsmouth. I'm not a native, but I've been here since 2008. After I separated from the service, I'm a combat vet. Since I've been in the city of Portsmouth, I've been active volunteer with the Oasis Social Ministry and homeless. Mr. Mayor, I've met you several times and shaken your hand several times. I volunteered for other nonprofit organizations within Portsmouth. And I'll make this quick. I'm really not a great public speaker, but I'll make it quick. Thank you for having this forum tonight. Thank you for listening to us. But as many of the other citizens have stated, you need to take what we say and put it into some action. We have seen great development, Vice Mayor, within Midtown Portsmouth, but we need that if we're going to be able to compete with other cities across this Hampton Roads area. We need it. So it's not like you're doing us a favor. We need it to be sustainable as a city. But I do thank you for that. And I didn't really have anything, I just wasn't going to speak, but I decided to speak, so please bear with me. In May of 2015 was the only time that I attended a city council meeting. I was ejected from that meeting because Dr. Whitaker and Mayor, I found some of the comments that you said to someone that was speaking very offensive. I was not the only one making outbursts on that day, but that day I was ejected from the City Hall Council meeting. I stood outside and a police officer escorted me out to the street. I didn't even have an opportunity to view the remaining of the session from outdoors. I was not the only one. I was the only one ejected. And so I left the building. And I haven't been back to a city council meeting since. But I'm not going to let that one incident deter me from what I feel is my right, and that's the right to speak and be heard. Now, where I have seen great progress, there is a lot of things that need to be done. Deteriorating roadways, which I have put in several emails to the people that do public works. And they have come out to several areas to make fixes, but there's a lot of areas that they have not attended to. The shopping center in Churchland, that is badly deteriorating, and that needs a lot of work. There are roads on Rodman, which people travel up and down on a daily basis, that need to be attended to. The tolls have went up. In 2014, we have seen little progress with this expansion. Little progress. To non-existent. So I would like to know when the tunnels are completed, are those tolls going to be eliminated, or will we still have to make payments? So I don't know all my facts, I'm just asking questions so that I can become better informed. Ebony Heights, that's in Churchland. We don't have a recreation center for the kids. With all these businesses that are going on, churches, citizens, private sectors have been filling in the gaps to purchasing book bags for the kids. I'm sorry, I'm going so fast. Funding or providing canned goods for the food bank. We've been all helping one another, and we're just asking you to help us. That's all we want. We want you to help us, help this city strive and continue to be for another 100 centuries. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Yes, my name is Pamela Wilkins, and I'm a resident of Portsmouth. I live downtown Portsmouth. Been in Portsmouth all my life, love Portsmouth. And I just want to, I'm just listening to everything that's going on tonight, and I listen when I go to the city council meetings, and I just listen to all the negative stuff. Nobody stops to think what the positive things has gone on since you all been on council, since you've been the mayor. You know, when I look around and see all the development that's come into this county, it makes me feel like I'm proud to be in Portsmouth. And you know, I feel like well, I'm gonna say God, but God is in it. Because you guys, I appreciate the fact that these are intelligent men on this council. They have degrees, they know how to lead, and they know how to make the best decisions. Now, as far as closed meetings, ever since I've been going to council meetings, before they even came on the council, they had closed meetings. I never once heard anybody debate that. Number two, another thing I want to say, as far as eliminating the time you speak, how many of you in this building right now can sit with a straight face intelligently and let somebody talk about you and call you names? And you not be bothered by it. So I commend them for the professionals they are that are able to stand there and listen to all your negatives, talking about, calling them names, and still hold a professional physique and try to do the best they can to answer your questions. So what I'm hearing now, if I had my eyes closed, if I was blind and just sitting in this room, I would think I was in a high school auditorium. I mean, let me rephrase that. I know I'm in an auditorium, but you gotta know. I would think I was in a high school auditorium with a bunch of teenagers. Because I'm hearing anger, I'm hearing spoilness, you know, temper tantrums. I'm hearing all of that. And we're all adults. And we're supposed to be professionals. We all live in this city. How can they run this city if everything they do, you got a microscope looking at everything they do? Nobody questioned the previous council. And that's a lot of that is the reason why we're in now. Well, they may have questioned, but not to the degree that they're doing now. I have seen these council people be disrespected, coming up there. I've never seen it happen to any other council that's been there. So I just want to say, I just stood up here to commend you all. And as far as the taxes and the state that the city is in, as far as finances and got to go up on the taxes, this tax problem has been here a long time. And prior to them making the decision to lower it to only 3%, that was a blessing because the previous city manager wanted to go up 17%. So I commend them for cutting where they needed to cut and doing what's best for the entire community, not just a segregated set. So I commend you all for what you're doing. You have my support. And I'm gonna say this one other thing. One of the gentlemen came up here and said that we are in darkness. No, I see under this council we have come to the light because a lot of things, the light have been shown on that I wasn't even aware of. One in particular, and there's a lot of them, but I just say this one in particular. I did not know that our tax dollars were giving the Sports Hall of Fame $350,000 a year. Isn't that a private entity? It's a museum, but still, if I had the choice, I wouldn't want my tax money dollars to go there and when there's so many other needs in the city. And I appreciate Dr. Whitaker for bringing that up. And it's not only just that, it's a whole lot of misuse and abuse of funds that I've been hearing since I've been going to these city council meetings, that funds were misappropriated and just spent frivolously. That's why we're in the condition we're in. So instead of us focusing on what the past and what should have been, what could have been, why can't we come together and support this council and do what we can to make this city a better place? I like what Dr. Patty said, the new Portsmouth. We need a new Portsmouth. And all those who want Portsmouth and love Portsmouth, we want to stay here, let's put aside all the foolishness and work together.
Thank you, ma'am. And prior to the $300 million we were giving the Sports Hall of Fame of your tax dollars. 500 on the capital side and 500 on operating. $1 million of your tax dollars to a private entity. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir, Mr. Mortimer. You're definitely not the least, but you're the last. How are you, sir?
I'm going to see. How's everybody doing?
Good here.
Good evening. How's everybody this evening? I appreciate everything that everybody does. You know, we all want to say what you don't do, what you could do different, but it's election time. Everybody should get out and vote. We all complain in this city, but the big thing is people need to get out and vote. If you think you can do a better job, hey, it's election time. Put your name on the ballot and run. Okay? I'd like to say thank you to the police department for all the hard work they do. You know, in the fire department for all the hard work they do. They don't get all the credit they deserve. We call the fire department. They come to our house. You never hear them once. I've never heard them once stand up here and say, we don't get the money that we deserve. But they do the job. The police department, they do the job. Each one of us in this room would probably call them at one time or another, and it came. You know, nobody talked to the police officer that went and helped the family that was hungry at Christmas time, or the firefighter, or the young couple that's married. One's in the police department, one's in the fire department. They're giving their lives to this city every day. One of them might not come home one day. We all need to remember those people. Nobody remembers the minister that invited a convicted felon to church. But everybody wanted to write a story about him in the paper, talk about him. But he said online, one minister invited him to church. And he knows who he is. And you didn't hear him out there bragging about that. The other thing I like to talk about is developers when they come to the city. We need to hold them accountable for what they say they're going to do. And what I mean by that, listen to this story. My hours got cut at my work, and we couldn't pay the taxes one time. So you know what the city did? They put a lien against me and my wife's check, both of our checks, and took the money equally out of both checks. But then I come to find out the developer, who owns quite a bit of land in this city, has not been paying his taxes at all, to the tunes of millions of dollars. Millions of dollars he owes. And that is public record. I'm not calling anybody out by name, but why ain't we holding that developer accountable for what he's did? Each of you are aware of who that developer is and who owns the land. I'm ashamed of the city for that, because you got senior citizens out here that are going without their medicine, without food, to pay their taxes to stay in those houses. We have sheriff's deputies that are making sure, that are calling them on the phone to make sure those people can stay there. But yet we have developers that are not being held accountable. They claim they had deep pockets when they came here. And now they want to change the development. They want to rezone it to build something they said they wasn't going to build to start with. And that is a shame. We need to hold people accountable. Again, I would like to thank each of you for the work that you do. And prayer does change things. It really does. No matter if you believe it or not, it does. The other thing I'd like to bring to your attention, I heard everybody discuss in the work session about having these meetings, and I brought this up in the very beginning when somebody got elected. See what the city of Chesapeake does for their public meetings? Everybody look, they put a sign up in public places in the middle of the roads, so all the residents know. You don't have to get the paper, you don't have to be on social media, and you're not relying on somebody to tell you. Nothing ever got done with this idea. There was a problem. I came with a solution. I sent this to the one person that ran on city council and to a reporter of the Virginia Ballot. It wouldn't cost us that much to make these signs. We have a sign shop in the city. At least I think we do. Okay? Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Actually, since you brought that up, there were several discussions about that, and I think we ought to be able to make some signs and post them throughout the area to kind of reinforce. I mean, we talk all the time about how to market, how to get things to where the people are so we can get this type of response at all of our meetings, and we will take action on that, and thank you for your comment. Okay, it's now 9:15. I'm going to allow any council member, if there are any closing comments you would have to speak. Anyone? Okay, I do want to thank you for coming. We are extremely pleased. Please be mindful that there are 96,000 people in the city. And because you say something, and because you don't get what you want, does not mean we ignored what you said. We do make decisions for the betterment of the entire city. We all need to keep that in mind. Some of us have been on the receiving end of some very good things over these last few years, but there are a lot of our citizens that have not. And when you're in a city that's 263 years old, and we have infrastructure that's over 100 years old, and we've got to fix that. And we have our young people. The gentleman from the Navy, you spoke well until you offended our kids about you didn't think they could do something. I take issue with that, but you have to invest in that. You have to invest in education. You have to invest in our teachers. We have to invest in our employees. You have to do that, and it takes revenue to do that. We either raise it through economic development or we raise taxes. We do something in order to do that. It is a double-edged sword. And that's one of the beauties and that's one of the hardships of living in an old historic city. A lot of our neighboring cities are just turning 50 years old. We've got pipes in the ground that Dr. Patton and her folks are pulling out now that's 120 years old. It'll be another 50 years before those cities have to spend $40, $50 million just to replace water and sewer. Please keep those types of things in mind. And when we talk about things like recreational facilities, and you may think, senior citizen, that it is a waste. There's a grandchild somewhere, there's a great-grandchild somewhere that won't have the chance that you had, okay? And that's what those facilities do. So we've got to balance all of those types of things. Whether you like it or not, when opportunities present themselves to this council, we have to act on it. 33 acres in a city that's only 33 square miles is a huge deal. And to allow someone to come in and take that and us not act on it, no, it wasn't in the plan, but it was something we needed to act on. That building that we purchased behind City Hall was not in the plan, but it was something that we needed to act on. And it may not make sense to you now. It will later. And that's what our jobs are. And that's why we receive the information that you give us with the professional look and the courtesy, because we know that we took an oath to do what's in the best interest of this city. And it may not be popular at the time, but that's not why we're in these positions. So I won't preach, but please keep that in mind. We all travel through this city, and I've shared this to the ones of you that come to council meetings. I see about 2,000 people a week. The things that we discuss downtown are not the things that those people are discussing with me in their churches and in their civic leagues and in their neighborhoods. So there is a total difference. There is a tale of two cities. Because you know the media, because they enjoy drama, and because they will repeat and write what you say, and it's all over the paper, does not mean it's going to faze me as the mayor, because I have to do things that's in the best interest of all of our citizens. And those people that are in Churchland and in Cavalier Manor and on County Street and out in Swanson Home, all of those people matter too. So as you come in your groups, and I love it, you come with your prepared speeches, I love it. We have to make the decisions that's in the best interest of all of our city. Thank all of you for coming. Mr. Conley, I'm disappointed. You always give us some encouraging words. You sit there quietly with your hands folded. I guess I'll have to wait for council meeting to get yours and Mr. Wright's. But with that, we're adjourned. Thank you very much. Good night.
All right, I'm headed up the side.